Do you hate that golden yellow mass-produced pine look? Maybe you've got some pieces at home that you want to refinish, but you have absolutely no idea where to start. Then in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what you can do step by step to take a piece of furniture like this and turn it into a light, bright, country looking piece. I picked this buffet up at my local thrift store. They were having a 50% off sale and it was only $25 to start off with, so it cost $12.50. This one did have some deep scratches and there was a little wonky hinge on that left front door, but other than that, it was in pretty good shape. I knew the first thing I wanted to do with this sideboard was remove the baseboard so that I could add some legs to give it some height and get it off the ground. Unfortunately though, this was a very well-made sideboard. It's completely solid timber and that baseboard was glued on, it was brad nailed on, so I ended up getting my jigsaw out, using that trim as a guide and just freehand cutting it off. You can see it a little better in this shot here. I've got the blade butted up, so the foot is actually resting on that trim and I've got the blade right next to it to cut a straight line. Where I was able to cut with the jigsaw still left a little bit of overhang on the bottom of the piece. It wasn't flush with that baseboard of timber, so I knew I'd have to come back and neaten that up. And I did notice that there was a tiny bit of separation where I had been trying to hammer off the baseboard, so I would have to come back and glue that back down later. To get rid of that overhang as neatly as possible, I used my multi-tool. I'm just working in small sections, taking little pieces off at a time, and I'm using the very base of the piece as a guide. So that blade of the multi-tool is resting on the base of the piece. I then went around with 80 grit sandpaper across that cut edge just to make sure that I had a nice smooth line and no jaggedy bits. My next step was to repair that separation that I had created. I just used some Selleys Aqua Adhere wood glue here and clamped it down into place. Recently, I'd picked up these free chairs on Facebook Marketplace with the intention of refinishing them, but I did think that I would be able to repurpose the turned legs on this piece if I just cut them down to size. So I removed them off the chair, I cut out this center support bar, and then I removed them from that attachment plate that you can see at the very top. Once I had measured and knew exactly how long I wanted my legs to be, I measured the distance from my blade out and I actually put a guide in place. So that's that piece of timber that you can see there on the left that is clamped down. That is my guide. That way I can put each leg up against that guide and know that my cuts are going to be uniform. If you have kids, then you probably recognize these little IKEA tables that you can get. They're the ones that the plastic tubs go into, but the leg plates on this one and the legs were in good condition. I'd picked it up on the side of the road, knew I'd be able to repurpose those two things. So I removed the leg plates and then I got to work with my multi-tool to remove the screws that were in the legs. So you can see here that I'm just cutting little chunks until I can